23,000 people in the United States are on the waiting list for a life-saving organ, and each year 2,000 people will die because of organ shortage. This is Alejandra, Brandy, Rita, and I'm Sarah. So, the National Institute of Health states that the gap between the supply and demand of organs is growing, and that internationally, countries do not have enough organ donors to support the amount of people waiting on their organ transplant list, and that's demonstrated with this graph. So because of this, many countries have had to consider legalizing organ trade in order to increase the amount of donors. And because of this, they've had to consider the question of what are the positive and negative repercussions that countries may face with the legalization of organ trade.
Accusation from experienced human rights advocates such as Arlette Ladd could possibly lead to the dissolution of political affiliations. However, this might not be true. The legalization of organ trade does not necessarily have a significant impact on countries' foreign affairs. For example, the United States' continuation of trade with China. In 1984, China implemented a law to allow organ donation from executed prisoners. Unlike China, the United States has a very explicit law proscribing organ trade, created by the National Organ Transplant Act that specifically states, it shall be unlawful for any person to knowingly acquire, receive, or otherwise transfer human organs for valid considerations if it affects interstate commerce.
Now, even though China and the United States do not politically agree on organ trade, they still trade goods and luxuries with each other. This shows that even though a country politically and ethnically does not agree with a topic, the economy is still more important to them than that. Now, the black market makes about $75 million per year. And when you donate your organ, on average, you're promised $10,000. Now, once you've donated your organ, you receive only a fraction or no money at all. Now, an example of this misconduct is in Syria. Now, the average monthly wage of Syria is $600 to $800. Now, when you donate your organ, you usually receive only $600 to $700 as well. This shows that by donating a part of your body, you get the same as 1 month's worth of salary.
Legalizing the organ trade will allow for the creation of organizations which regulate the trade, allowing fair and fluctuating prices that will help the economy of the country.
And put the money in the hands of those who donated.
Like Brandy's mentioned, organ trade is very profitable in less developed countries, and because of this, organ trafficking is extremely prevalent because the massive impoverished population is easily exploited with financial reimbursement in order to increase the donor pool. But human rights activists argue that treating organs as spare parts that can be bought and sold is fundamentally human dignity and places organ trade on the same category of paid human transactions, which would include prostitution and slavery.
To counter this point, the belief in human autonomy supports organ trade. Tariq Badash argues that the poor are exploited from birth, and that the only thing they have left of value is their body, and they should be able to utilize this in order to help their situation.
However, a study conducted in India by the National Institute of Health stated that after nephrectomy, which is the removal of someone's kidney, the family income declined by a third. 84% said they suffered a deterioration in health, and 79% said that they would discourage others from donating. They also said that they suffered from social and emotional trauma because organ donation in their country isn't socially accepted.
The aforementioned deterioration of health and social isolation may be due to the improper care in less developed countries of the ideals in those countries. In fact, the American Transplant Foundation says that the average recovery period for the average organ donor is about 2 to 6 weeks, and for the average kidney donor is about 2 months. They continue on to say that most donors continue on with life as they normally would. Only 4 out of 3,036 liver donors need liver transplants later on in life, and only 11 out of 59,075 kidney donors need kidney transplants later on in life. And this might not necessarily be due to complications in the harvesting process, but rather problems that would have occurred naturally later on in their life. It can be then concluded that with safer practices, which occur when procedures are regulated by a federal organization, such as the donations that currently occur in the United States, participants of organ trade can live healthy and normal lives. Now that we've established that the legalization of organ trade has little to no negative repercussions in the political, economic, medical, and ethical perspectives, we should consider the positive effects of legalizing organ trade. Without the legalization of organ trade, the black market will still exist. This system is corrupt. For example, a 6-year-old boy in Bangladesh had his kidneys cut out and his body was later found in the wetlands of Bangladesh. These unregulated practices are unsafe and unsanitary. 10,000 organs are sold on the black market each year. Donors and acceptors alike suffer medical complications due to the lack of care and sanitation. About 20% of kidneys used in transplants are acquired through the black market, and these often involve coercion perpetuated by the economic standing of the donor. Donors are often misinformed and sell their organs for less than they are worth. Since these organs are being sold anyways, it would only make sense to legalize the practice in order to regulate it with the purpose of limiting exploitation and protecting the health of those involved. The possibility of corruption has caused many countries to stay away from the legalization of organ trade. However, Professor Sir John Bell, the former president of the Academy of Medical Sciences in the United Kingdom, believes that the legalization would stop illegal trafficking and, if correctly monitored, be beneficial to those who implemented it. He says, kidney donation has now become so safe, it is something you could ethically justify, and it would stop all this illegal trafficking.
So obviously there's so much controversy over the legalization of organ trade. This has led many countries to look into different alternative solutions. One of them being using 3D printers to print a patient's stem cells into the organs they need. The Stem Cell Institute at Harvard University has claimed that they can already print an artificial rat kidney. And another solution would be making people donors by default. So many countries in Europe have already implemented this, where instead of, like the United States, you have to opt in to be a donor, you have to opt out to not be a donor. And although this has increased the donor pool in Europe, they still suffer from organ shortage. So at the moment, organ trade seems the most readily available solution in order to increase the amount of donors.
Although growing organs is still in the future, there have been many signs that this soon will be a possibility. In North Carolina, researchers have already built a prototype of a 3D printer for custom-made implants. Lack of needed research in use of making solid organs like those similar to lungs is what is hindering the use of 3D printers. Dr. Wagner believes there's 15 to 20 years is the amount of time needed for all organs to be made in the lab. But before that, there are multiple steps we need to take in order to ensure organ trade runs smoothly.
Now, we need to restrict those who can donate to only those within a country. Like, someone within a country can only donate to someone else also within the same country. This should apply overall to all countries that legalize the organ trade. And this would stop the abundance of organs. Now, having an abundance of organs has negative repercussions due to the fact that in the United States, it's estimated that if this was to be done, a kidney would be worth about $20,000. Now, if too many people were coming in and selling their kidneys, the price could drop down to about $1,000, which no longer makes it a win-win situation. Another restriction that needs to be put in place is to make sure that it's not only monetary gain. We don't want people to only get money for donating their organs. We would also like to implement the fact that they would get social and medical things, and such as insurance, thus maximizing the positive repercussions a donor and a family may receive from participating in the organ trade. To conclude, when evaluating the positive and negative repercussions of legalizing the organ trade in reference to political, economic, medical, and ethical factors, legalizing organ trade is beneficial to society. To best implement this, it should be considered a short-term solution and should be restricted as far as those who can participate. Thank you.
All right, remember you guys, you can confer with each other before you answer, but everyone needs to answer one of these 4 questions. The first question I have for you is, where did you guys grow in knowledge during this project? Remember, your microphones are on. Now.
Well, organ trade before seemed unethical, and actually I'm not quite sure why I had that idea, but just selling a part of your body seems like you are making yourself objectified. However, when looking into this, it actually ended up being beneficial, which was against what I originally thought, because we don't consider the fact that those who would sell their organs are typically the poor who need money. And I also didn't realize that there are really no negative health repercussions when it's correctly done. So I originally had thought that it would be negative, but it could be positive.
Thank you. What information did you need before you began this whole research? What were you looking for to help you do the paper?
Well, the way we organized our research was we split up the topic of organ trade into political, economic, overall medical field, and then ethical categories. And so then we did research in each one of these categories and then brought them back together to create a solution.
All right, that kind of answered the next question. What advice would you have for other researchers who are considering this as a potential topic?
Well, I would tell them to basically come with an open mind, because I went into this topic like Rita said. I was thinking it was going to be unethical, and I was thinking it was going to be morally wrong, totally. But it turned out it's actually very good for society, and it could be good for our economy. So I will recommend the person to actually do really good research. There's a lot of good medical sources that will prove that this solution will be the best for our country.
Two of you, now, so you both said that you guys both changed in your belief as the process went through. Was there any different perspectives when you went in? Did you all come in at the same belief and then two of you changed, or was there change? Talk to me about the change.
I always like the legalization of organ trade, but that's just because my mother has had multiple organ failures. So this to me was very important that it should be legalized. They didn't agree, but yay, the research helped out.
You brought them over.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys. Great job.